legal battle is looming within the ruling United Party for National Development. This is in a case where party member Charles Longwe is seeking an intervention, or rather an interim injunction, from the High Court over what he claims the party's failure to hold an elective general conference. The case, now before the court, raises serious constitutional lapses and questions about the legitimacy of the party's top leadership. This lawsuit further challenges the party's failure to conduct elections at both lower and national levels, which the plaintiff argues goes against Article 60 of the Republican Constitution. Among the remedies sought are a court declaration rendering the current leadership illegitimate, an injunction restraining party officials from executing their duties, and the establishment of an interim committee to oversee fresh elections. On the other hand, the UPND and its current National Management Committee have announced that they will be holding its General Assembly on April 15, 2026, a development that could prove pivotal in addressing some of the concerns raised, even as the matter remains undetermined before the Lusaka High Court. Join me as we summon the plaintiff in this matter, Charles Longwe, to Costa's cross-examination right after this. Charles Longwe, you are summoned to cross-examination. Good evening.
Good evening, Costa, and thank you very much for the invite.
Let's just bring the viewers to speed with, obviously, the matters I've just alluded to. On the 18th of March, the Lusaka High Court received a case in which you, Charles Longwe, are plaintiff, and you have sued Batuke Menda in what is written here in his capacity as the purported Secretary General of the United Party for National Development. You have in your statement of claim a number of issues you raise, 12 in particular. We'll refer to some of these, but I'll go directly to the reliefs you are seeking. Number one, it says, and now the plaintiff claims against the defendant the following: a declaration that the National Management Committee ushered into office on 14th February 2021 was illegal and void alternatively. A declaration that the National Management Committee ushered into office on 14th February 2021's tenure lapsed on 14th February 2026 in accordance with Articles 56 of the party constitution. A declaration that the members of the provincial leadership and lower party organs ushered into office in 2020's tenure lapsed by 31st December 2024 in accordance with Articles 16, 21, 26, 33 and 43 of the party constitution. We are further asking that a declaration that the failure to hold elections at constituency, district and provincial and national level by the UPND is a violation of Article 60 of the Constitution Act number 2 of 2016. You are further asking that an order of injunction to compel the defendant, by himself in this case, Batuke Menda, who's the Secretary General, his servants, agents or employees whomsoever, to immediately seize and desist from occupying the UPND secretariat, the use of UPND party materials including issuance of party receipts and use of letterheads, holding meetings, press conferences and media briefings in the name of UPND, purporting or holding out as leaders. Finally, you're asking that an order of appointment of an interim committee to be headed by the applicant, who's yourself, with powers of the National Management Committee, to be superintended over all party matters and spearhead the election across all structures towards an extraordinary AGM. These are the reliefs you are seeking. My first question, because we've heard from many different party functionaries or organs who you are saying are holding office illegally, that you have failed and you have not served them these court summons. So there's no basis of this argument. Have you served the Secretary General these court summons?
Thank you very much for that question. I'll begin by saying that in the party, I consider myself to be one of those who is a long-standing member of the party. I respect my colleagues in their capacity as former administrators of the party. I recognize that we need order in society. And when I took out this action, the first point of call, as before I even took out this action, I was interacting with the secretariat. I took the step to approach the secretariat to serve on the defendant, in this case, Batuke Menda, who I know is not in office now, but the Deputy Secretary General is in office. They have refused, denied several times.
When you say you know he's not in office, what do you mean? Physically not?
No, he's physically not in office. The last I heard is that the man is unwell. Okay. But you see, this is an institution, so there are procedures there which take precedence in such a situation. So the deputies or anybody else can actually receive documents because we are suing the organization, not him in person. So we did this by going to the secretariat. But Honorable Jack Mwimpu, who is the chairperson, I could say the purported chairperson of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, has given directives to the staff there not to receive documents. They have been giving me a runaround, Lusak. I have to go to his office at Home Affairs, and there the secretaries and everyone are told, no, don't receive documents. I go to Mwimbu Muleza and Company, they have no instructions. Then he sends, I don't know whether it's his lawyer or private lawyer, Mr. Stari, to be contacting me, to be giving me a runaround, Lusaka. At the secretariat, they won't receive documents. Mind you, we are one family. We are not fighting.
If you are one family, Mr. Longwe, when you look at the party's constitution itself, is this not an act of indiscipline on your part as a party member? Because there are structures within the party in which such matters obviously should be raised. Did you exhaust all these channels? Does your constitution not have remedial measures when such arises rather than going outside of those party measures to the court straight?
Exactly. We have a leadership in the structure, okay? But this leadership in the structure has a term of office. In other words, they have legitimacy in which they perform those functions, not outside those terms. You see, when I approached the former leaders, they had already lapsed. In other words, they had lost mandate for me to engage them as leaders. But I engaged them as colleagues with courtesy to say, look, gentlemen, we have an issue here. You should have called the convention, and now you haven't called it. The consequence is A, B, C, D. I was not there as an indisciplined member, no. And there I was not seeking the other channels, which we might call disciplinary channels, where you follow a certain order, because there's no hierarchy. That hierarchy has collapsed. What I was now following is again the Constitution. The Constitution provides rights of a member to resolve certain issues. So I'm only relying on, I think it's Article 8 of the party Constitution, which guides me on how to interact as members.
What does Article 8 of the UPND Constitution
It practically just gives duties to a member, one of which is to resolve issues amicably.
Using what channels? Well,
look, we are in a civilized society. I don't jump on the top of the roof if I want to come to see you. I have to knock on the door, and that's what I did.
And this is why I'm asking that definitely there are channels, and even what you challenge the court to be, many organizations, you are claiming that the tenure of office expired on February 14th.
Exactly.
2026.
Exactly.
Which is this year.
This year.
February is only a month and a few days away. The committee has announced, the NMC has announced that they will hold an assembly just a few days from now on April 15th. Surely an organization does not operate in vacuum, even if that exact date of a General Assembly has expired. Shouldn't there be a time of interimity for an interim committee like them to finish, sit the General Assembly and hand over? Isn't that what is supposed to happen?
Exactly. We operate with laws. It's not just an assumption. We operate under the laws. They are governing laws and principles. UPND is not a special entity in this country. UPND operates under the Societies Act. And the Societies Act stipulates on how you proceed when mandate ends. Okay? The only transitionary period provided under the law is 14 days. 14 days.
Based on which part of the Constitution?
No, not on the Constitution. Under the Societies Act, that's Cap 119 of the laws of Zambia. You see, I forget the exact section. I think it's section 15, where it provides that when the mandate lapses, okay, you go to the registrar immediately within 14 days. That's the maximum. And beyond 14 days, even the registrar can't help you.
But surely, truthfully speaking, this 14 days is not followed by many organizations for a number of reasons.
That's lawlessness.
Logistical purposes or financial capacity, trying to put your house in order. And we've seen this in many societies. Political parties really have done this. But the biggest question I would ask you this evening is why the rush when, with only a few days to go, they said there is going to be a General Assembly on April 15th.
You have to understand something, Costa. I didn't rush. My letter to the secretariat was dated 6th March. This is almost 20 days after the lapse of their tenure.
You wrote a letter to...
I wrote a letter to Batuka Imenda.
What were the contents of that letter? The
contents of that letter are part of the exhibits in court, but basically it was to ask the question. I see that, because you see, you have to understand, I was an aspiring candidate in this year's General Assembly as a member of the National Management Committee.
You were an aspiring candidate for what? I mean,
yeah. So I knew. You know, you have to prepare. You see, this is which is amazing. Even when I approached the Secretary General, they seem not to have been aware that their tenure has lapsed. They are completely blank. You see, there was a change in the last, at the last convention in 2021. They made changes to the document, where now...
To which document?
To the constitutional document. They amended it and brought in issues of appointments of leaders at national management level, where everyone is just voted in a pool, and then the president from there appoints for certain portfolios individuals. And that... this last 5 years is the first time we are using that, and I can show you and demonstrate to you that that system has failed. Because most of these officials who are elected, some of them are now in the diplomatic service, some of them have moved on, they are in the civil service, some of them are serving cabinet ministers. They are tied themselves to other responsibilities of state, and they have left the party to collapse like this. It's a shame.
But if that was amended in your constitution and it stands, there's no illegality on that if your constitution...
No, what I'm trying to say is that it has brought about inefficiencies where those people holding these offices have proved inept. They have neglected the party. The whole party has collapsed. It's a shame, Costa. It's a shame. It's a shame.
But back to your letter of the 6th of March.
Yeah.
You were challenging to say the 14 days has elapsed.
Yeah.
Your issue was when do we hold the General Assembly?
No, I was asking them not when do we hold. What are you going to do about it?
Okay.
Because I knew now that, you see, there are principles. We live in an orderly society. You know, it's like when you have, you have a school board. You know, I've been at the PTA school board. You are given tenure, maybe you are PTA chairperson for a year. After a year, your tenure lapses. So what you do is before the end of the year, you initiate a process so that whilst you still have mandate, you can call the next conference. We do this in churches. Because, by the way, you have to understand the Societies Act governs all these societies, clubs, even churches. They'll tell you on maybe a yearly basis, churches hold annual general meetings. And they hold these annual general meetings before the lapse of their tenure. So that those officials organizing these elections or whatever general meetings, procedures, because they vary depending on the society, they still have mandate to exercise certain things.
And again, this is why I've asked you. I've asked you that 14th of February 2026 and 15th of April is merely 2 months in between. Why is it difficult for you to recognize the office bearers who held office up until 14th to interimly transition, because the AGM is the supreme body of the party?
If they had demonstrated to me,
so that they simply hand over. And what I want to understand clearly, are you crying some sort of foul? Because in your declaration here, you want to be the one to be appointed interim secretary.
Exactly.
Why can't you just wait for? I mean, 15th February is a few days from now.
I would wait if it was legal. See, this is lawlessness. Mind you, you have to also understand something, Costa. We are the ruling party. You see the chaos happening in the opposition, where these issues are ensuing. They are in courts. We should have done better. It's a shame that our standard has been lowered even below the opposition political parties. It's illegalities where people want to occupy office outside the authority which is mandated to them by the specific legislation. In this case, you have to understand, a political party is a club.
But doesn't your constitution provide for an interim leadership?
No,
when
no,
the
it
tenure
doesn't.
of office
It
lapses?
doesn't.
So you mean that your constitution is so weak that when such a thing happens, then there's a vacuum?
It's not that.
Because in short, then you'll be saying there's no party at all.
No. It's not that it's weak. It's the way it's framed. It's framed in alongside the other statutory laws, like the Societies Act, which provides that you have your own constitution in your club, which is your contract among members. So that governs your every year tenure. But when it lapses, after that 5 years, you are given 14 days in which you notify the registrar of such a thing. Yeah, I can confirm with you, within that 14 days, I'd already approached the registrar, myself, as an aspiring candidate.
As an aspiring candidate for what position?
For national management.
As what?
No. You see, this is what I started by telling you, that at the last general convention, they changed. You no longer aspire for a position. You aspire for national management as a whole. So, you know, it's like, to make it easy, just maybe also for the sake of the viewers, what happens in UPND is you vote for leaders into national management the way you vote for leaders to national parliament. Okay? So once you are elected to that body, then the president now chooses an executive from there, like the way he chooses cabinet. That's how it's done. So it's like when somebody says, I want to stand for member of parliament, it's not that they are looking for any other position. They go to that parliament. That's how it is in the UPND. And that's a system I was saying has failed. The first attempt, it has just collapsed.
So are you saying that the General Assembly that is scheduled for April 15th is illegal?
Yes, it is.
On what basis?
On what basis? It's very simple.
On the basis that the 14 days have elapsed?
No. Not that the 14 days have elapsed. There are certain things. You need to have mandate to execute. You need to have mandate. You see. And
you have the mandate? You have the local standard yourself?
That is why I've gone to the court. I'm an orderly person. I've gone to the court to seek for this mandate to be able to execute, because I don't have it. Now, if my colleagues had better ways than illegalities, I would have supported them. They haven't advanced any legal avenue to redress this, anything better than what I've provided. I have proceeded to court and offered a solution. So they have not countered that.
You have filed in an ex-party summons,
yes,
seeking the court to give you an injunction.
Yes.
Has the court granted you these reliefs?
No, not as yet. The court has not heard us.
And if the court does not grant you these reliefs before 15th April, and April 15 passes, and they hold a General Assembly,
we'll still challenge that.
What next? You will challenge?
We'll still challenge that decision. Because it's illegal. It's illegal. They do not have the mandate. You see, the National Management Committee calls the General Assembly. It's a function under Article 57. It's National Management Committee which calls. Now, if the National Management Committee lapsed, it's defunct.
But then it's also questionable on your part on one end.
Yeah.
You are calling them illegal,
yeah,
and they're defunct, but yet these are the same people you want to sue and serve. So on one hand you're recognizing them.
See in the manner we address them. We see in the manner we address them, even when we sue them, it's not an afterthought. We sue them as purported. Because you see, they keep on holding to offices and lying to everyone else. They are ashamed to even just concede.
But then the question is, who then convenes the General Assembly or a convention in political circles as it's called? Because again I ask, because others will call it the party structures. We've seen others, they use provinces and district officials come together.
Yes.
That is the supreme body of the party, we believe. So why then would you, just as a single member, feel that you need to take charge when the whole general membership hasn't sat? Because in any case, the party constitution requires a quorum,
yes,
to convene.
Exactly. You see, this is the irony. And you see, in my approach, I'm not calling out individuals. I'm calling the whole group as having failed. Okay? And I demonstrated, even in my court process, I demonstrated that the failure did not begin at national management level, failing to call for a convention. This thing started way back. In 2021 or 2020, we held structural elections. Now, the tenure for the structural elections was 3 years. And they lapsed in 2023. No elections have been held in the party since 2023. But in all those constituencies, this is 3 years later. I can tell you some people are still floating, flaunting as, what do you call them? Provincial chairman, district chairman, constituency chairpersons, in the whole country, a ruling party.
But then if that was the case, why didn't you begin to address these matters as early as 2024? And have you not, if truly you are a committed and an active party member, we've seen the president and other party officials, the Mwalitators and others, having these meetings. We've seen big meetings at Mulungushi. We've seen the president engaging structures. Where have you been all this time? Have you not been attending these meetings?
No.
If you're a dedicated member?
I'm a dedicated member. I don't attend those. I attend in the audience, not in the leadership.
There are also, you know, assertions or really statements that have come out challenging your party membership. We are told you left the party, and there are rules to when party members are supposed to be readmitted to the party. Are you? How do you prove to us this evening that you're a legitimate member of the UPND?
You see, Costa, people should be careful when they make such allegations. You know, I consider myself as one of those people who we call special forces in the UPND. All right? Special forces, by that I mean people who do certain tasks for the party. All right? And when they push us to an extent where we should disclose what we've been doing all these years, it's serious business they want us to do.
That sounds very dangerous. We've got special forces.
Special political forces. I'm not a joker. I can tell you that for sure. And the church knows.
Which means you do illegal things on behalf of the party.
No. We do.
For you not to be able to say publicly.
Special operations.
Why not special duties? Because special forces.
Yes, special forces, paratroopers.
Okay.
We fly by night. Do you know what a paratrooper does? Let me tell you.
Clandestine maneuvers.
Clandestine specialists. That's what we are. And in the UPND, they are there. And I rank among the best in there. I can tell you. And the HH knows me. So we execute functions. And we shouldn't be pushed to start disclosing what we have been doing.
Can we assume that this court process is also one of those clandestine?
No. That shows ability. And
special forces.
It just shows our ability.
Somebody else has sent you because you're part of the special forces.
Listen, HH will be the first one to tell you that that one cannot be bought. He knows it. He knows me very well. I've been on this platform for a very long time. And no one in the opposition, I can challenge anyone in this country to say, oh, I'm a long ways on my payroll. Me. HH knows me better. And he knows that this game is up. Because Charles doesn't move by money. I don't move by that. We move by purpose. And there's a task here. And this is a national task. And I've made clear to my friends, guys, I'm not shifting. I will not be part of those who push illegalities. So I stepped out.
So what is your ultimate goal and gain in all this? What?
First, as a ruling party, order. Order is what I want. Lawlessness should end. Listen, Costa, you remember the Bill 7 process which we went through? There was an accusation that, there was a court process which said the process leading up to that broke the spirit of the Constitution. What we are breaching now is the letter of the Constitution. If you understand the two, you will see the gravity of what we are doing. That was just merely a spirit, which is just like an intent you have to decipher. This is actual letter, and I will not be among the people who watch my fellow. I don't care. President Hakainde Hichilema, I've called him out. I said, sir, you are wrong, and I will not support this. I'm not budging. I will not be part of illegalities. Whether this is an election year, I will not participate.
So in your legal opinion and in what you believe is your democratic right, you want to be appointed interim secretary general and then call for a convention?
No. I'm not being, in my reliefs, I'm not seeking to be I'm seeking to head
the interim committee.
The interim committee.
that will organize
that. Because
and looking at the time frame, because the Constitution has a set date when an election should be held, and we know it's August 13.
Yes.
So within your interim reliefs that you're, with these reliefs that you're seeking, how then would you want a convention to be organized?
It will be done.
Because April 15th is already set.
Now, April 15 is a gonger. This April 15 is a gonger. You mean the April 15 set for the party convention or the ECZ program?
The UPND say they will hold the general.
This thing is a gonger. First of all, you even saw it on the social media and everywhere where they are backdating documents and so forth. You don't do that just to fulfill the needs of the law. No, you do that. That is the depravity which people have. You know, I feel pity for this country where we allow officers in broad daylight. You see, right now, they are masquerading as leaders, using government positions. No one is speaking as UPND what? UPND what? They are using their government positions to address you. It's a shame.
There is this very interesting article in the UPND Constitution, Article 79, under tenure of office, and it says that a party president shall be eligible for election for an indefinite period subject to this Constitution, provided that a party president who is elected Republican president shall only serve 2 terms that shall run concurrently with the term of office as Republican president. From my understanding is that obviously our Republican Constitution has guided clearly that somebody who's president can only serve for 2 terms.
Yes.
And this Article 79 is saying then the president of the UPND who is serving as Republican president can be elected for an indefinite term or period that aligns with the 10 years, according to this. In fact, in the same Constitution, I am aware that the party president is then automatically the Republican president candidate.
Exactly. So
we can also draw from Article 79 that challenging whether the candidature or the legitimacy of President Hichilema, according to this, he's very much on firm ground because he is the Republican president that is serving a period that will be aligned to the Republican Constitution.
You see, I'll be reluctant. I was attending a certain discourse somewhere where they tried to push me to this. I'll be reluctant for one reason. In the UPND, we file for, there will be dates for nominations. I have, maybe it was unintended, but I said at one program that there will be eligibility issues with the president. I know. And that's a fact. Now, that's your reading and interpretation of that clause. But, there's a benefit of what you call institutional memory. That article was not there in the original UPND Constitution. That article was just introduced in 2009. And it has we have a history why it was introduced.
What's the history?
Yeah, we had the history why it was introduced and how it was supposed to function.
Why was it introduced? Because
you see, we held an extra.
Because for every law that you're amending, there must be a gap or a lacuna that you're trying to fix.
Yeah, one would say so, but we also looked at, there are certain things at the time. You see, these conventions, as you see them, which are held shortly before the general elections, have a danger. That is, if, let's say, we hold a convention, like, let's give an example of another political party. Let me just leave this one. They hold a convention under, let's say, FDD. And then 4 months from now, under the FDD, Wachifumu Banda, Adada, attempts to run for the election. And then he loses. Some people, after the election, they are not interested to go to the 2031. Because usually their impetus is to run for office. So in the UPND, that was a marvelous thing we tried to do there. That's why I've even asserted and challenged everyone to say, show me where we held a convention in 2011. It was because of that. We never held a convention in 2011 as UPND.
Yeah, because probably you had changed then the tenure from 3 years to 5 years in certain organ structures. And then you had put in this indefinite. So make me understand, because following, late UPND President Anderson Mazoka's death, President Hichilema has held reins of the party from that period. I mean,
Yes.
he contested the election in 2006. He's contested the election in 2008. He contested
in 2011.
in 2011. And being a member, you've been supporting. This is now Republican president.
Yes.
So there is legitimacy. There was a convention in 2016. There was a convention in 2021.
I tend to disagree. There was no convention in 2016. Look, here is how you know whether there was a convention or not, right? At the convention of 2006, Sakiwa contested against HH. 2009 was just an extraordinary convention. We didn't. In 2011, there was nothing. 2016, there was nothing. In 2021, we held a convention, and I think Pamela Chisanga, McDonald Chipenzi, and some NGO groupings were part of the Electoral Commission, because you know you have to have an independent Electoral Commission. Now, I can dare them even now to say, you know, I'm a man of truth. And I express my colleagues with truth. And I expected them to be contrite and not push me this far. I dare them even now to say, name the commission in 2011. And Richard Kapita was vice president. Name the commission in 2016. And GBM was the vice president. There was no election. So when I say some of these things, it's just because I'm being pushed too far. I know what we were doing.
Is this, you were doing illegalities?
Well, we could say, you know, the common term was, do you know, in a political party, there's a rhythm, and we are aiming to get somewhere.
So if you agree that you were party to some of these illegalities,
I didn't.
What has gone wrong?
Oh,
now? What has gone wrong? Is there something you're not happy about that now you're trying to hit back from the things you were doing together as a collective?
Yes, I'm a man of honor.
Because you're admitting through your words that you were party to illegality yourself.
Not only admitting on your show, Costa. In my letter to the Secretary General, I admitted this. I said, during the time in our trenches, we allowed certain things, but we had an agreement, we had a deal. Guys, we don't want to be infiltrated. Guys, we need to protect the presidency. We did that honorably. And it was smart. When I tell you that we are operatives, we know what to do. So there are things we did, transparently so. However, the deal was, this is to achieve a purpose. Eyes on the ball. Okay? Get the president in. And we fulfilled that. Once we are now in government, I hold them to a higher standard. We can't go back to those things. You know, when you are in the trenches, you don't mind certain things. But now that we are a ruling party, I will not be part of illegalities because of the consequences. Costa, let me just tell you this. If I moved, okay, if I moved with this after we filed, it would be catastrophic.
Let me ask you a question. Article 75 of your party constitution, election of the party president.
Yeah.
It reads, the president of the party shall be elected by the General Assembly every 5 years.
Yes.
Okay. The party president in Article 76 shall be elected by secret ballot in accordance with the electoral rules and regulations of the party as read with this constitution. In the case of any vacancy in the office of president, the vice president shall act for a period not exceeding 90 days. The extraordinary General Assembly shall be called to elect a president. Now, if you look at this where Article 75 says the president shall be elected every 5 years, if I read it alongside Article 79, here's the legal ambiguity that I want to ask you.
Yeah.
From the Republican Constitution perspective, 5 years of this president, who is Hakainde Hichilema, runs out on August 13th.
My friend.
I'm looking, because your Article 79 has tied him to that tenure. If you are claiming that his tenure of party president, based on the party convention, came to an end on 14th of February.
Yes.
That then gives you a very big legal ambiguity, because you're saying then that subsequently you're not recognizing even the president of the country who has been constitutionally, sworn on.
No. You need to separate the two. You need to clearly separate the two. Okay. You see why I don't.
Are you not alleging in here that the entire NMC and the functionaries of the party, including the president, are illegally in office? That's what you're saying.
Yes, that's my position. But it has nothing to do with the executive.
No, but then if you say that President Hichilema is not the mandated president of the UPND, then essentially you're saying that his president. His presidency is equally void.
No.
He becomes president based on a party ticket.
No. Look, here is how the Constitution operates, and you have to read it. You know, I was telling some place that, look, you have to have a holistic reading and interpretation of this thing, right?
Yes.
A political party only sponsors a presidential candidate. Once the Zambian people repose their authority in voting for that individual, the political party becomes a small thing in the game. Nothing. You see, your assumption is that
depending on the system, in other jurisdictions, like in South Africa, the party still has the power.
Yes, but not in Zambia.
Even the president.
But not in Zambia.
Yeah, but that's
in Zambia. In fact, what I've been arguing is that in Zambia, you can even close the political party, deregister it completely, and the functions of state will continue.
But this is why I asked you earlier, and I keep on.
So that's why I was saying that
Article 79,
I know what you are drawing me to,
and you told me
I know
there was a reason why this change was made.
I know why you are drawing me there, and I'm saying. You see, we are students of one great teacher in this country. He has taught us orderliness in these procedures. And I want to use this opportunity to thank Bo John Sango. You know, he taught us something in 2021. He says, no, look, he had a case against Dr. Lungu on his laptop. He says, I can't move or go to court and take action until Lungu files. We learned a lot from that. I will not discuss the particular issues I have with Hakainde Hichilema's eligibility until I see him move. You see, but I'll tell you one thing. In my court, where I stand, August 25, 2023, August 25, mark my words, 2 years after the election, August 25, 2023, Hakainde Hichilema had a what I can call a head-on, because they should have called this convention before that time. But that is the case I'll make once he files, and I'll demonstrate it.
Once he files for presidency?
Yes, once he files for presidency.
In the 18th May?
No. Once he files for presidency in the UPND, that's when I'll move. And I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. Yeah.
As part of your claims here, one of your first claims, I'm just reading through this again, you're saying a declaration that the NMC ushered into office on 14 February 2021 was illegal and void alternatively.
Yeah.
Even the 2021 as well, you're challenging?
The 2021, yeah, the procedure.
Why?
Okay, alternatively, give the second part. So that, because they are married, so that I'll easily distinguish them for you.
Well, for the second one, you are challenging that their tenure lapsed in February of this year.
So, you know, at law, I can argue both ways, okay? So what I'm saying is I have two issues with their election. There is a procedure, and this has to do with a historical thing called, if you're a student of law, you understand there's one thing which happened in 1978 at the UNIP conference. It's called the last-minute changes. This is a trick or a practice by political parties during the convention to amend the constitution to bar certain individuals. Now, that practice is what I'm challenging. So, if I succeed on the first leg, it means that even the constitution, that is, the establishment of that body, was illegal. Then the second part, of course, is what you already allude to, that the period lapsed. But what I'm actually talking about here is that it has to do with a historical issue. And I know I'm very passionate about this, because when in my studies and research, I found that Simon Mwansakapwepwe, Harry Mwanga Nkombola, returned in UNIP, filed and challenged Kaunda, President David Kaunda at the time in 1978. Then they were both blocked. But before the next Congress, where they could now qualify, you know, they would have qualified in 1983. Both men were dead. I started understanding and trying to understand from the legal side what was happening. And so in there, what we are going to argue I'm doing it passionately for my fathers.
One of the reliefs again here, you're saying in E, that a declaration that there are presently no qualified persons to pose as delegates for purposes of an electoral college during a general assembly. If, for example, this judgment that you're asking for, and it's still an ex parte, in most cases there'll be requirement for an inter party. Hearing that both parties come to the table, I mean that's law. Every side has the right to be heard.
Yes.
In your plan or course of action, how do you then intend, if you were appointed interim committee chairperson, where will you get the delegates?
You see, that's the issue. We thought through this. You know, one of the ways you know whether you have a good assistant is when they walk to your office with a problem, they come with possible solutions. They are resisting, I know they are resisting the interim committee, but the interim committee is the solution to all this thing they are doing. Where will I get the delegates? As the interim committee who have authority for a period.
I'm sure even that period cannot go beyond 90 days per constitution.
Which constitution?
I've seen in most cases vacancies will talk about an acting aspect. Even the Republican Constitution in certain vacancies will go for
you see, I remember I told you that the UPND Constitution is a contract among members, but we also have legislation which is the Parent Act. So that relief we are seeking of an interim committee is derived from the Parent Act. So from there, we know what we are going to do. This is a simple thing. The only fears they have is that they won't be in control. They know that what I've offered on the table is the only reasonable option.
But when you say the only fear they have, I mean, and if you claim you're a dedicated member, why are you speaking like it's now a battle and a fight? Are you saying that the UPND is now a divided house? There's you and them when you say why they're fearing? Because the party seems to be moving in a direction one would wonder, why are you not supporting it? There have been, changes made. You now have a new electoral chairperson who's been given the mandate to organize and begin to, I mean, you are 4 months to an election. You're 4 months to an election. Does the UPND as the party in power need this confusion you're creating, Mr. Longwe?
Costa, my friend, this is what Zambians do. They are lawless individuals. Anything goes. We need to have order in society. Just because you are doing something good, but you must have legitimacy. These guys, all of them, they are my friends. Their tenure lapsed. They should first own up. They can't assume. How do you start appointing somebody when you are former managing director? How do you do that? I'll give you an example which maybe the viewers will understand. In early this year, we held the Africa Cup, AFCON, and there was a decision against Senegal, all right, that the cup, Ichikombe, Nabanyonga, is now going to Morocco. And I saw something. The soldiers surrounding the cup. But you and I know that the decision has already been made. So this is exactly how our leaders in the UPND are behaving. The authority lapsed. The decision each chawa Morocco. Even if you surround it with the troops, it's our Morocco. So you can't be using fake authority and writing letters appointing people. Please acknowledge that the authority is gone.
But surely within a period of 60 days from February to April, is it so difficult for the interim or the outgoing
authority will be
management committee to call for a
You see, we sign contracts. We sign contracts.
In fact, the question I should be asking, does the UPND Constitution have a preset date when a convention must be held? Because it only talks every 5 years. At least the Constitution of the Republic does have a preset date for an election. Does your Constitution in the party have a preset date where you're arguing that their tenure lapsed on 14th February?
Costa, I always say that they are clutching at straws, looking for anything to hold on to. Costa, we held our election on the 14th. So every 5 years means before. In fact, if you want, you can even call it earlier.
Yeah, but you being...
You can even call it earlier.
You who claims to be a legal scholar yourself should know...
I just understand the law a bit.
That interpretation of the law has sometimes what you call the literal meaning of it. It can have what they call
the purposive approach.
The purposive.
Yes.
It can also have the mischief rule.
Yes,
or
yes.
the lat. So every 5 years, surely from a legal analysis,
yes,
can also mean that within the period of that 5th year, it doesn't need to be on the preset date, that because 5 years elapses on this particular date, then you should be averse to the fact that
No, you are wrong.
That every 5 years means precisely that date.
No. You see, it's not interpretation in a vacuum. It's computation of time. Article 269 helps us with that. The general provisions, interpretation helps us with that. You know, we are not what you call a banana republic. This is a republic which was established in 1964. We've been around. These questions have been answered. If at court they give you 7 days to file, 7 days is 7 days, Baba. You can do your purposive, you can do your mischief rule. 7 days is 7 days.
Yeah, but
you can hire the best lawyer.
But every 5 years, Mr. Longwe, surely does
computation
not mean,
of time
does not mean that it's the exact date in which it was heard 5 years ago.
No. That's not our position. Let me clarify this. Every 5 years. Let me clarify. I'm not saying that the next convention will be on the 14th of February 2031. No. I'm talking about a 5-year period. So they can even call a convention on they could have actually called the convention on New Year's Day.
Yes, so why is it problematic for you to call the convention just before? A few days after what you did.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you why.
Because it's within the period of every 5 years.
Okay, good. Let me explain to you why. Have you seen these former MPs? Most people now that we're in election season. You've seen these former MPs. They are called honorable. But they have no seat, no constituents. And they continue moving around in society saying they are honorable members. An honorable member has a constituency, a seat in parliament. Once their term lapses, they are not. But we, out of courtesy, we call them honorable. But you are pusika. Because now they start assuming, even when somebody loses power, former minister, whatever, we continue calling them that. They start assuming that they wield that authority. It's not correct. These leaders, after the 14th, they lost the legitimacy to exercise that authority. That's what we are saying. And they are not arguing. They are looking for lacunas. There's a vacuum, There's a vacuum. There's no vacuum. You failed to execute. And us as members, we have a duty. I'm a member of the UPND. I have also a duty to call them out.
Some also argue that you left the party and you were never readmitted into the party.
Look.
I asked you this question and you eluded it.
Okay, I didn't. Let me address it.
Are you a member of the UPND? And can you show me proof tonight?
Let me address this in this way. That's the song they started with.
Are you a member, Mr. Longwe Charles, of the UPND? And can you prove to me tonight that you're a member?
That is undeniable. And this is why I said, when they came out, more especially Mark, was being sent out to start denying who we are. I felt, my friends, in the media department, they are ingenious in methods to do this. But they shouldn't do it to special forces. All right? So I came out. In my court process, I demonstrated that I was a member.
You've attached your membership in from 2006.
No. Wait. No. 20. I attached the latest. You know what I mean?
Did you leave the UPND?
No. Wait. I attached two things. Listen, I attached two things because
I'm asking you a very simple question.
It's a very simple question.
Did you leave the UPND?
That it has lost a lot of members. I attached the latest. That is the renewal for last year, and I attached my 2009 letter to my good friend and president, Hakainde Hichilema, when I stepped down from national management and became an ordinary member. 2 points I've added there. Explains.
Did you ever at one point leave the UPND?
Not once.
When did you first join the UPND?
You see, let me tell you, I joined in 2001, but let me tell you what happened.
Since 2001, you have never left the party?
No, listen. There is not even one day I belong to any other political party, because that's how you lose membership. Because when you join another political party, you lose membership.
What is the rule for renewal of membership in the UPND?
They are just subscriptions. It's not renewal of membership, it's subscription.
If we went into the Treasurer's register, will we find that you are an annual paying member?
Listen, what happens in the party is you renew subscriptions, not membership. Once you become a member, you are a member. You know, and
if you don't pay those
even if you don't pay those subscriptions, you are still a member. Because your member does not cease when you don't pay subscriptions. You lose rights.
Do you have membership?
Do you have
membership cards as
yes, you lose rights.
Can you show us yours?
Well, I wish you had informed me on your invite to do that. But in the court process, I've attached all those. Yeah, but the issue is that when you become a member, you know, I remember I told you that we operate under a statute called the Registrar of Societies Act. Not Registrar Societies Act. Under the Registrar of Societies, we are registered. There is a principle known as.
So you've attached this, which you're saying gold membership number 0001141 certificate of membership. This certificate is awarded to Charles Longwe in recognition of the continued support and partnership with UPND, 3rd September 2025. So what does it mean to be a gold member?
No, let's not just... Who signed it? Just check there. My good friend who?
This is signed by the president.
Can you imagine now? Can you doubt that signature? And somebody can go on national television and say he's not a member with a signature. That means I'm committing fraud. And that signature is hot. I expect Musamba to be on me today. But he hasn't moved because that thing is authentic.
So again, like I was asking you, if this is your presentation that your membership of the party is valid, it has to be validated by somebody who is legitimate.
Let them challenge it in court.
In this case, who again you are challenging not to be legitimate?
Let them.
So which means then that your membership will also be null and void.
No, let them come and deny, but they should also call Msamba. When they are doing that, General Msamba there should be at my door for fraud. Is forging a signature of the head of state.
No one is accusing you of forging.
Because that's what I've presented there.
Based on your court matters, if you are claiming to be a member, and the person who certifies you to be a member, you're saying is illegitimate as that, then even your membership is
no. What I'm doing there is a procedural thing. I'm pushing it to them to prove that they are members. Because I've stated in my affidavit that they were elected on a certain day or they were appointed on a certain day, and that their tenure has lapsed. So they have a duty now to.
So going forward, you have an ex-party summons which has not been received by anybody in the party. Those you are calling purported leaders, you're calling them they lack eligibility, are going ahead with the General Assembly on April 15th. What is then the way forward in this matter? And we're 4 months away to an election on August 13th, and the UPND is mobilizing.
Wow, they can go ahead. I said it the other day, that they'll go ahead with the dummies, with people who don't. You see, look, we need to be an orderly society. If the way you have quizzed me here, you called any of the leaders, not Mark. Mark is a civil servant. You know, Mark is a member of the secretariat. That's why I don't like this back and forth with the media team, because those are just workers at the secretariat. I would have wanted to see an official come here and say, on television, and say, I am this. But they just keep on pushing. They are even clandestine. We have to see leaked documents. I'll give you an example. And this I can even provide the pictorial evidence, where Gary Kombo is sitting in 2021 announcing the convention, setting out the conditions. Did you see it this year? Kauni Kamonga Chenika leaked document chepa internet. No. We are doing this. We are a ruling party. The point I'm trying to say is this: they need to up their game and be honest. They have no mandate to organize this fake, I call it fake convention on the 15th. They don't have. But Garibo members will follow them.
And if it goes ahead, you want to challenge it?
No, I'm already in court.
Okay.
That will just be incidental. It will be incidental.
For now, we wish you all the best, and we wait to see how the court will determine your matters and the reliefs you are seeking. So far, there's no injunction that has been granted by the court. Hence, from the other side point of view, they still remain legitimate. They still remain to run the functions of the party.
They are illegitimate, you mean?
Well, pending what the court will determine. As things stand,
they claim and they
no ruling will be made. So
no. Here is what I want to do. Since I'm on your program, I want to invite the media to a show on Tuesday, because this is a long weekend. You know, people are in churches. On Tuesday, 14 hours. Okay, I'll come through your studio. We'll move as a team to the UPND secretariat, and I want to save them.
Is it,
so that you witness. You know, because see, I've been making these statements. So on Tuesday, we go together. Gather the media for me. You know, you guys, you have your own way of networking. I'll come through here because it's just near your studio here. We'll drive together from here to the UPND secretariat in full view of the whole country, and be live, please. So that we go there and save them the documents. I hope this time they will not refuse. I won't go around circles to Jack Mwimbu's office, to this, what, no, what study. I won't take your calls now. I'll just move straight to the UPND secretariat. And if they don't refuse to accept our court documents, we'll just dump them in their yard. You know, that's service as well. Then we'll file the affidavit and state in our affidavit what we'll have done.
Well, for us, we'll follow the court procedure or the court process. Let's see whether the court does grant you the reliefs you're seeking for an order of injunction. And we'll also continue updating the nation on what the other side does. But we wish you all the best, and we'll continue covering. Even on Tuesday, we will cover that you have served.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
This session of Costa's cross-examination is now adjourned. My guest has been Mr. Charles Longwe. He is a long-standing member of the United Party for National Development. He has taken the party to court and sued the Secretary General Batuke Menda for holding what he claims office illegally, and is claiming that he is rather seeking relief that he should be appointed as a chairperson, or rather head of an interim committee that should organize a General Assembly. On the other hand, we'll see whether the General Assembly of April 15th will go ahead and what the outcome of this court process will be. Thank you so much. Good night and God bless.